Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show, and on today's show I figured I'd do something I hadn't done in a long time, which is I was going to pull out questions, comments, and answer them in the videos. So first off, we have this one here from Michael McAdams. Alright, yeah. Hey Minion, what's your thoughts on the bigger is better bit from the dev show, Calling All Devs? Should I give up on having a black and a couple of, let's say, a cutlass black, phrasing a little bit questionable there, and a couple of utility ships, and go all in on a BMM, Banu Merchantman? It seems to me like at first it was all about modularity, then it was specialized ship, but now the way to go is just big ships. Well, now, having a big ship also comes with bigger problems, bigger maintenance costs. Of course, you have to factor in the fact that you're probably going to need a few people with you just to make that operation smooth and doable. I mean, there are always people who are like, oh no, I'm going to solo one man a javelin and it's going to be the shit. And I'm like, well, I kind of agree with that statement, but I think you have to say it more like, I'm going to solo pilot a javelin and it's going to be shit. You know, it's, you know, operating these big complex things, I don't think it's ever going to end up like it's EVE Online and you're just going to push these buttons and all your turrets are going to activate and start automatically tracking your enemies. I don't think it's going to go that far. And so I think that, you know, if you're looking at it from an organized group play perspective, then yeah, a big ship does make a lot of sense. Specific to the Banu Merchantman though, man, I hate to say this. I really do. Because I love the Banu Merchantman. If circumstances were different, I would own a Banu Merchantman. And I've said that before, I'm pretty sure. But the problem with the Banu Merchantman, I mean, the Banu Merchantman was first concept sold on November 20th, 2013. 2013. And the ship really, I mean, the game, in all fairness, the game has certainly moved forward and we are, you know, seeing the fruits of that every day, but the ship itself has gone nowhere. Nowhere of value. And I love the Banu Merchantman, but at this point I would say, dude, just get a Caterpillar and by the time the Banu Merchantman even arrives, you'll be able to buy it for in-game money. Honestly. That would be my recommendation if you want to go and get a big ship. Just get a Caterpillar. And by the time the Banu Merchantman ever comes out, you will be able to just buy it with in-game money. I mean, to put it in perspective, it took less time to go from the first bomb dropping at Pearl Harbor to victory in the Pacific than it's taken for the Banu Merchantman to be concept sold and then actually put into development. Bare minimum, because they've already said we're not doing it in 2018. Bare minimum is another 2 years before that ship is finished. Best possible outcome. 2 years before that ship is finished, because it at least takes them a year to build it out, fit it out, animate it, make it flyable, and put it in game. So you're looking at still 2 years away for the Banu Merchantman. Best case scenario, just get a Caterpillar. Honestly, Caterpillar, Hull C. There are other options there, if you must. But you know what? I mean, in all honesty, I mean, you could keep your Cutlass black and just fly that, and you'd probably have enough money for the Banu Merchantman when the Banu Merchantman finally came out in game. I mean, really, depending on what your utility ships are, you might have some good shit in there, and you might have some fun stuff to do. And I mean, just doing shit and just playing the game, you might have enough money for the Banu Merchantman when it comes out. So, I would even argue just hang on to your Cutlass and your utility ships, whatever they are, and just have a good time. Don't worry about it. You'll be able to buy big ships in-game for in-game credits fairly soon, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens and how CIG kind of shifts things around in the future once that becomes available. So, I would say, in my opinion, I love the Banu Merchantman, but from my perspective, no. I don't think it would be worth your time. I think your money and your efforts would be better spent elsewhere. And by the time the Ben Merchant ever arrives, you'll already have enough money to buy it in-game. Sorry. Alright, next up. Altuus Sangio. Is the Reclaimer everything you waited on? No. I kind of felt that by this time, you know, I'm sure a lot of people can sympathize. By this time, we'd be further along. Obviously, once salvage gets here, then it will be where I feel it should be. It will be what I expected. I expected it to hit along the same time as salvage did. I mean, that was, you know, kind of one of the mantras, one of the ideas that CIG repeated over and over again. We want the ships to arrive at the same time the systems they support arrive. That was always something that we'd been told over and again and again and again. Here's the Reclaimer, no salvage. I don't mind if it was only a rudimentary version of salvage, a rudimentary exploration of the idea. But yeah, it's not in a way that's disappointing. It's not in a way that I am unhappy with. It is simply, you know, like, yeah, I mean, it's not the complete ship, obviously. But in terms of, like, am I emotionally fulfilled by it? Do I look at it and go like, yeah, this is what I expected it to be? Yeah. I was oddly struck by the fact that the interior conformed to a lot of what my ideas were kind of in my imagination, what it was going to be like. I mean, of course, big fan of Alien and Aliens. It very much kind of, you know, it kind of met my imagination oddly in those areas, and I'm very pleased with that. I mean, there are little things and little question marks throughout the ship, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I want to explore the idea of that big rear elevator and possibly putting a few space bikes on it and then storing them in the cargo hold or in the salvage hold, and making like a mini space bike carrier out of it, possibly. I think there's an interesting possibility there that I would like to explore. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm pretty happy with it in terms of just overall. Are there missing systems from the ship? Yeah, there are, but you know, hopefully 3.2 will get us most of the way, and once we get a public stable release of 3.1, I can start to explore some different ideas with it. So overall, very happy with it. But is it everything that I waited for right now? No, it isn't. Now, finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up like about 20 comments into one. In regards to the cutter. You know, a lot of people had comments, questions, and observations about the cutter. My opinion is, just by CIG's non-reaction to it, I think that it's more a question of CIG is just kind of like flopped on the ground right now, and they're just kind of like, if you lay really still and you don't move, they might just sniff you and then leave you alone. You know, it's like that bear attack thing. It's just like flop down on the ground like you're dead and they'll just leave you alone, which apparently, you know, mixed results with that, but and on the internet that is true as well. But the idea that the cutter doesn't fit, that you can't put the cutter on the Reclaimer, I would say bullshit to that. You guys remember James Cameron? He's the guy that directed that, you know, that Titanic movie. You may have blocked it out of your memory. It's that movie that after about 45 minutes of watching, you're like, oh my God, where is the iceberg? Please tell me the iceberg is on its way. Please, I can't watch this anymore. Oh my God, where's a U-boat when you need one? That guy? So this guy went and built himself a submarine, and he went down to the deepest part of the ocean, the Challenger Deep in the Pacific, off the Mariana Islands, I believe. And so, you know, that sub that he built, I mean, you can see it next to a diver there. It's not that big. It really isn't. I mean, realistically, for something like the cutter, it wouldn't have to be that big. I mean, all it really has to do is be a vehicle that detaches out of the ship and carries tools to the work site. Maybe has a little tractor beam. You can come up with some cool ideas, like you can grab onto larger things like turrets or missile racks or something like that, and it can bring them back to the ship where that big, you know, elevator comes out, and you can load those things onto there, and then the crew can take it up inside and move it to various parts inside the ship. I mean, it could almost be just like in a heavily augmented spacesuit, you know, sort of thing, with the proper tools attached to do different things, like cut open doors or weld stuff or whatever. I mean, like, whatever tools that you may need to salvage however they develop the game, it can contain those, right? And it can have those. So it's not like there isn't room on the Reclaimer to have just like a little port that opens up and something like that drops out of, and it goes off, does its thing, and then it returns to that docking port. It would be interesting. And to say that, oh, there's just no room for it on the Reclaimer, bullshit. I mean, there's easily enough room for it on the Reclaimer. I just think that probably along the way, maybe, you know, as they were iterating on it or talking about the idea, it got lost out of the conversation, and now they're kind of like, oh yeah, shit, that thing. Well, hopefully, you know, not a lot of people will say something, and we can just kind of like pretend that we didn't hear it, and it'll all just go away. Because otherwise, I mean, realistically, they would just stand up in front of it and say, yeah, we goofed, or, oh, don't worry, it's coming. That's what the docking port on the top is for. Just you wait and see. We still know about it. It's going to get done, you know, and they kind of look at each other like, yeesh, just dodge that one. And, you know, they put that on the schedule. So I don't know why CIG isn't saying anything about it other than, you know, I mean, it just creates a negative impression to say nothing about it. But obviously there is room in the design for something like that. I mean, you could stick it on the back, you can stick it on the top, you could stick it inside in certain places and just have it drop out of the ship. Kind of like, you know, what was it? You guys remember the old pads, like the palm pads that we used to have before smartphones, with the little stylus thing that you would click and it would pop out, and you would use that to write on the screen? The same idea. But yeah, those are my thoughts on those questions. We'll have to wait and see how the cutter thing shakes out over time. I know that has now become a question in the Ask the Dev section. I'll try to dig up a link for it so you guys can go and vote that one up, and hopefully we get an answer to that question fairly soon. But apart from that, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.